May is bringing in a lot of games. You have Palia's Elderwood expansion. You have Dune, which has now moved to June. So Dune is coming soon in June. And you also have a game that I'm very excited for, which is BitCraft. I have covered BitCraft a lot lately, and there's still so much more to cover. They just recently dropped a blog post talking about combat, and that has been a huge question within the community. How are they going to handle combat in BitCraft? Because initially, combat wasn't something they heavily discussed. They wanted to just build a very community-driven, open-world sandbox MMO. But Clockwork Labs just dropped a massive article about how combat, conflict, and even griefing will shape BitCraft's world. We'll explore the plans for PvE battles with dungeons and a monster slayer skill, the hint of PvP duels and empire sieges, and how empire and settlement rivalries will drive ambition without bloodshed. Plus, they'll be tackling griefers to keep your creation safe. I've seen a few YouTube comments in my other BitCraft videos asking for more details about how combat is going to play out. So I'm very excited for this article. I'm very excited to talk about it today because I'm pretty sure it's going to answer all those questions and all future questions as well. This article did release April 11th, so I've had a few days to think about it. It's been about 10 days for me to stew it over and to give my opinions on what I think they should add in or tweak combat, conflict, and griefing in BitCraft. Progression in BitCraft has never been combat-centric. Our core progression is rooted in skilling and civilization building. It has, however, always been a game about taming a dangerous wilderness, and thus combat does have a very important role in BitCraft. While we've added a basic version of combat to the game already, we've spent a lot of our development effort on aspects of BitCraft other than combat, and it's time we change that. We've heard loud and clear from the community. If combat is going to exist, it needs to be and feel good. I've read that a couple of times and I keep laughing because the automatic response in my mind is, yeah, it does. Currently in BitCraft, monsters may threaten your settlement, ambush you while you're exploring, or guard resources in the wild, but we're looking to expand this and more rewarding PvE experience. We're adding in new systems like small-scale dungeons, more challenging enemies, and the Monster Slayer skill, which brings with it progression, gear, and a sense of achievement. I'm very excited for the Monster Slayer skill. It does give me some RuneScape feels, so I want to know how they're going to handle this, and I truly think it's a good addition to add to the game. I think it's going to make a lot of people happy. We're also working hard to polish the core combat mechanics. We've updated the system that makes gearing more meaningful. We've changed what happens when you reach 0 HP to better fit into how we see players engaging with combat, no longer forcing home teleport. Combat outcomes are now less deterministic, introducing randomness and excitement. Combat now also allows buffs, effects, and more varied strategies to take down foes. The responsiveness and feel of combat, as well as the UI, is being continually improved and will be an upcoming focus as we enter Steam Early Access. In the future, we plan to add an area of effect attacks, enemy phases, and more intricate threat mechanics to raise the skill ceiling and complexity ceiling of encounters. So PvE combat will be significantly improved for early access and during early access, but in a single shared world where players rebuild civilization together, it is inevitable that conflict between players will arise. But in BitCraft, conflict isn't just about fighting, it's about ambition, identity, and how players leave their lasting mark. Whether you're competing to control vast swaths of territory for your empire, or competing to draw players to your own town, conflict is a key part of which makes the world of BitCraft feel alive. But then the rest of the blog is then talking about how they're going to handle combat and conflict in each phase of the game, which is empire, settlement, and character or player. In each one, I'm going to talk about how I think they should add or tweak in that part of the game. Now, those are just recommendations. I'm not saying this is how they should definitely do it. These are just my thoughts. So with that being said, if you disagree with how I would handle something, let me know in the comments down below and talk about how you would handle it instead. I want to see y'all's opinion, or if you like how I would do it, how would you add on to it? Empires in BitCraft are all about status. There are no mechanical power bonuses for owning more territory, no buffs for being emperor, and only the admiration or envy of your peers. Empire scale gameplay is a player-created zero-sum conflict that centers on prestige. The rewards are cosmetic. They have crowns, titles, and knowledge that your banner flies all over a significant part of the map. We did a Empire video. We tackled all about the empires in my last BitCraft video. So if you want to go check that out and learn a little bit more about it, we pretty much talk about how empires are purely cosmetic and more of a flex that you have all this territory. Despite the lack of character boosting rewards, the stakes are very real. Empire competition is designed to be strategic and logistical gameplay loop requiring long-term planning, resource networks, and political savvy. You'll need to place and maintain watchtowers, supply your enemies with hexite capsules, and manage your growing dominion. While the current system revolves around territorial control and sieges, we are actively exploring additional gameplay loops to add new layers of strategy and engagement to the Empire gameplay. We are looking at ways to expand the interactions empires can have with the settlement and character scale and the role they have in empire warfare to create interesting gameplay experiences. Now, I'm not going to talk about what I would add to the empire scale just yet. We're going to do it later in the video because they do circle back and they talk about empire PvP, and I just want that to be known. I'm not like glossing over this. But the next one is settlement scale conflict. At the settlement scale, conflict takes the form of a sometimes friendly, sometimes serious competition between towns and villages. Settlements can be entirely personal, live your life as a hermit in the woods, but most players will find themselves wanting to grow and attract others, and there's a good reason for that. Settlements in BitCraft can earn income when players make them their home base. This income is generated directly by the game and not taken from other players, and it comes from two main sources: players living in houses with your settlement and players crafting using your facilities. This creates a powerful symbiotic relationship between characters and settlements. Settlements want to provide the best infrastructure, crafting stations, and quality of life, while players want access to efficient, well-maintained towns. This leads to indirect competition. You have to focus. Is your region best for the settlement? Does it have a good trade hub? Do they have the best crafting stations available to other players? Do people want to come visit your settlement over another settlement? We expect this to create a world where towns strive to become regional hubs. Settlements negotiate and cooperate, choosing to specialize differently if nearby, and ambitious players venture into the wilderness to establish new outposts and underserved areas. Looking to the future, we are also exploring more direct forms of settlement conflict, where towns could spend resources to put competitive pressure on nearby settlements in structured, fair ways. So I thought a lot about this one, and what I came up with as a way in the future to implement conflict is a resource beacon. They're going to be very similar to watchtowers, is where you place it down and you kind of control that area. But a resource beacon will be significantly smaller, probably covering just a certain amount of ground. But you can drop them over an area that has very valuable resources, and people that are only participating in your settlement can go and gather those resources. What another town can do is go build a team to attack that resource beacon, or do what they do on the Empire side and drop a cannon and it actually goes against it. So then players can go either out there and repair the resource beacon or let it get destroyed. I think that's one way where there could be conflict added to a settlement where you could possibly drown out or push out another town. So people will actually go to your town over theirs. That you're pushing them away, people are choosing to go to you because you have the good. So character scale conflict. At the character scale, we've taken a different approach. In early versions of BitCraft, there were more systems that created friction between individual players, from fighting over gathering nodes to racing for crafting spots. But over time, we've shifted away from that. Our goal is simple: having other players around should feel good, or at least neutral. This is essential for having BitCraft be the social community sandbox we envisioned. A lot of people within my community love that part about BitCraft. It is very community focused. They want to work together. They want to do kumbaya. However, there are other people within, I would say, this type of game or this type of genre that want to do some chaos. They want to fight other players. But BitCraft, up until now, has not really focused on those people. They focus mainly on the community side. A good example of this is their fishing system, where players can chum the water to create a hotspot that benefits everyone nearby. They state they're actively building more systems that reward cooperation at the scale, not competition. That said, conflict hasn't gone from the character scale entirely, so now they're going to be incorporating that PvP side. It is tailored towards the people that want a little bit of chaos, but they need to do it in a certain way that doesn't break what they've already built, if that makes any sense. For years, we didn't have a clear answer to whether BitCraft would have PvP combat. Not because we're hiding it, but because we genuinely were not sure what the right move was. BitCraft is not a PvP sandbox MMO in the traditional sense, and we know that many players come here for the cozy cooperative experience, my community included, but over time, we've come to realize that PvP can exist in a way that respects that vision. And I agree to this completely. Cozy games can have PvP, or cozier games that focus on community building and cooperation. There's different types of PvP that you need to focus on though. So first off, you have to have opt-in PvP, which we're going to discuss in a second, and it has to be something light or something that doesn't really over the player. Palia, for example, introduced minigames, which is hotpot. You're actively going against other players, player versus player. And here, the first step is dueling. Originally added for internal dev testing in service of polishing PvE combat, we quickly saw that duels were a great way for players to practice, challenge friends, or even build arenas and host tournaments, because dueling is fully opt-in. It aligns perfectly with our goals for character scale conflict. So this is my opinion on dueling and how I think they should have it. I would obviously add two things to it. One, I would add a duelist skill. Each duel you get grants you more XP towards unlocking cosmetics, a title, everything in that area that the other skills have. Every duel you do, it tallies up. Then after that, I would attach a wagering system. You go up to the player, you wager your goods. Say, I bet you X amount of this. If you lose, you're fucked. But it adds that element to the game. I've had a lot of fun in other games where there's a dueling system, but duels should also be given rewards. Every duel, win or lose, you should be given a Hexite shard and duelist XP, leveling up that skill. But maybe there could be a daily cap to keep it fair so you're not running around dueling everybody. But settlements could host tournaments, or empires can host tournaments with big prizes. And if they win, they should get a unique title or something along those lines. I think that would be very cool and very unique. But speaking of titles, maybe depending on how many duels that you've done, can unlock different types, like Sparring Novice if you're just starting out, Arena Challenger, Arena Legend, and possibly one day BitCraft can add in something called a Dueling Hall, which can be dropped in settlements, and you can actively go there, challenge other people. Maybe there's a leaderboard, stuff like that. That would be really, really cool, and I think a great addition to the game. Now, getting back into the blog post, they state, looking forward, we see the most natural avenue for more PvP and Empire sieges. We are considering systems where attackers and defenders could fight directly during a siege, with a risk and reward focus specifically on Hexite capsules used to fuel the conflict. This would introduce an additional layer of strategy where protecting your supply lines or disrupting your opponents becomes just as important as placing the right watchtower. It can also create new rules in player economy, mercenaries, bodyguards, and tactical strike teams hired to ensure a siege goes in your favor. So like I said in the beginning of the video, we're now there. We're talking about my opinion on what they should introduce with PvP and Empire sieges, and pretty much they hit the nail on that. Attackers and defenders. So when a cannon is dropped against a watchtower, that's when the siege starts, right? So when that happens, imagine a warboard or something dropping in the Empire's capital. You can even call it a siege board. It'll be a central hub where players sign up for the upcoming siege. When an empire plans to attack or defend a watchtower, leaders post a siege event on the board, selecting a date and time. Players visit the capital, interact with the board, and pledge their participation, choosing their roles, possibly something like Supply Runner. Signing up grants access to the siege instance with an addition of possible buffs like plus 5% damage during the event, and rewards like Hexite capsules or cosmetic titles if you participated. The board could show the roster, letting players see who's joining, maybe even sparking rivalries or alliances. Empires could limit signups, 50 players per side, to keep battles balanced, and non-signed players can still contribute indirectly by supplying resources or crafting siege gear. This system could be an absolute game changer for BitCraft's community. It turns sieges into planned, hype-worthy events like organizing a guild raid in other MMOs. Players can rally friends, even strategize in the Discord. It leans into BitCraft's social sandbox, making sieges feel like teamwork and not just random brawls. Plus, this will give smaller empires a chance to strategize. Bigger empires obviously means more people. If they just immediately start attacking, it's going to absolutely destroy the little guy. A late join queue could be very beneficial. Also prevent people from just getting only their friends in and only controlling the sieges that way. This is as far as I went when it came to developing this plan. And I just kept thinking, man, these are the drawbacks. So there's probably a lot more drawbacks that I'm not considering. But if you were to go for this, if you were like, hey, I like this idea, but let me add on to it, what would you do? I want to see in the comments down below. So now let's talk about griefing and safeguards. Of course, with a fully editable world comes with the risk of abuse. From the beginning, we've been thinking about how to make BitCraft resilient against griefing. And while no system is perfect, we believe we've created a strong foundation of a system which let us mitigate the amount of griefing or give players better ways to prevent it themselves. At the settlement scale, the claim system gives players ultimate control over their land. If you own a claim and maintain it, nobody else can alter anything in it. We're continuing to fine-tune the cost of claim upkeep to ensure it's fair, both to protect active players from losing the land and to prevent griefers from hoarding space without consequences. When it comes to terraforming, we've made it intentionally slow to push terrain away from its natural state, but much faster to restore it. Combined with claim protection, this makes it very difficult for griefers to do lasting damage and gives repair efforts a significant advantage. We'll continue watching and listening to the community and evolving these systems, but we're proud to have laid the groundwork to make BitCraft a world where creativity thrives, not chaos. I like all the systems they've put in place so far, and I love seeing the game evolve even further and fine-tune things like PvP and combat. What are you guys' thoughts on all this? What are your thoughts on combat, how they're going to handle PvP? Let me know in the comments down below. While you're down there commenting, be sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you know when to upload a video. If you want to know the exact moment to upload a video, be sure to join my Discord. The Discord is a super happy and friendly community where everybody is welcome. If you're watching this right now, this very second, there's a chance that I'm streaming on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Perzival, Perzival. I stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So hop on in and chit chat if you want. If you guys are wanting a true crime and paranormal podcast, I have one of those. It's called What Dwells Beneath, and you can find it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And last but not least, be sure to follow me on all my social media. I have Instagram, Twitter, Threads, all that is in the description down below. But yeah, that is a video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.